Hundreds of people go missing in North America in a year under baffling circumstances. Their cases are either closed or the mystery remains unsolved. David Paulides, who is a former police officer and now an investigator, decided to investigate on all these cases, and he published his books regarding these cases named Missing 411 Conspiracy. Missing 411 is a series of books and films which document cases of people who have gone missing in national parks and elsewhere, and maintain that these cases are unusual and mysterious, contrary to the data analysis which suggest that they are not actually statistically mysterious or even unexpected. In July of 2015, Dior Kunz and his girlfriend Jessica Mitchell were on a camping trip with their 2-year-old son, Dior Jr. They brought along Jessica's grandfather and a family friend named Isaac Reinbond. The campsite was extremely remote on the edge of the Rocky Mountain National Park. There was only one dirt road leading to the area where they parked their trailer and car. The morning after their arrival, Jessica, Dior, and Dior Jr. all went into the nearby town to run some errands. When they came back to the campsite, Rainbond was holding a large fish. He said he had caught it in the nearby river. Jessica and Dior Sr. asked to see where he caught the fish, so they began to follow him with their son. The little boy suddenly decided he wanted to get candy from his grandfather, and they allowed him to walk by himself back to the campsite, which was only a few yards away. The grandfather confirmed that little Dior returned safely to him and that he was watching over him, but in the blink of an eye, the toddler was gone. During an interview, the parents explained that they searched for the boy for about 20 minutes before trying to call 911. There was no cell phone service at the campsite, so they had to drive down the road until they could complete the call. A search party helped them comb the area for several days with no sign of his scent or tracks. Helicopters with heat tracking cameras flew over the area as well. A 2-year-old should not have been able to go very far. Everyone was baffled. Where was Dior Kunj Jr.? Years later, the case is still unsolved. Many in the general public believe that Dior's parents are the suspects, and there was public outcry to have them tried for murder. However, there is no evidence that they killed their son. And up to this day, we are not sure what happened with Dior Jr. and where he is right now. In 2014, a medical doctor named James McGrogan went on a split snowboard trip with friends in Vail, Colorado. Not many people have heard of split snowboarding. This is a sport that's a lot like cross-country skiing or hiking in a snowshoes. He came prepared with his cell phone and a satellite GPS system. He was much faster than his friends, so he said that he would wait for them at the next stop. They lost sight of him and never saw him at any of the stops along the trail. When the search team went looking for him, they found no tracks in the snow that veered off the trail. So they had no idea where he could have possibly gone. 5 days later, his body was discovered 4.5 miles away. As the quote says, as the crow flies, which was more like a 14-mile hike, as he would have to climb up mountains in order to get there. His body was found by 2 hikers at the bottom of a frozen waterfall. The search party had gone over that area multiple times before but had never seen him until that day. McGrogan was mangled in a strange position. His skull was crushed, as if he had fallen from the sky. He was still wearing the full ski outfit and helmet, but there was no boots on his feet, and he had also taken off his gloves. The search and rescue team later found his discarded split snowboard, but they never found his boots. His cell phone and GPS were still working, and he had packed a backup battery as well. They tested the area where he was found and there was a cell phone service. Yet he never called anyone for help. The police at the end deemed this as an accidental death and closed the case. Perhaps even weirder than any of these cases are those in which the person has vanished, only to reappear later unable to explain what has happened. An earlier case of this is that of a 2-year-old Keith Parkins, also of missing 411 fame, who in 1952 was visiting Ritter, Oregon, to stay at his grandfather's rural remote ranch. The area was surrounded by forest, but Keith was allowed to play out in the yard. And on this day, that is where he was, his grandfather constantly checking up on him. At one point, the grandfather looked outside expecting to see the boy playing as he had been just minutes before, but he was nowhere to be seen. Like in the other cases we have looked at, a massive search was launched, made all the more urgent because there was a frigid bad weather set to hit that evening, which it was thought such a young boy would not be able to survive. When nightfall came, little Keith Parkins had still not been found, and it was considered puzzling that he could have gotten so far so quickly without a trace. The search went on all night, and when morning came they finally located Parkins alive, lying face down on a frozen pond around 8 miles through rough wilderness from where he had gone missing. Bizarrely, he had taken just his jacket off, despite the intense cold, and his clothes were ripped. Although there was no sign of physical injury, it was a complete mystery as to what had happened to his clothes, why the jacket had been removed, or even how he had managed to survive at all. And even odder still what that, considering his young age and the intimidating terrain, it was estimated that it would have taken him nearly 20 hours to cover that distance. How could this be? Was he abducted? And if so, why? A survival expert named Les Stroud deemed it impossible for a 2-year-old to have covered that distance in the time that has passed in that weather in the dead of night, making it all stranger still. It would have helped if Keith had been able to explain what had happened, but he was either unwilling or unable to elaborate, and his strange disappearance and reappearance remains an enigma.